whakarongo ki te tangi a te korimako. Korero flowing at the hooker force. Kaupapa relevant, kaupapa out of bounds, kaupapa exigent, kaupapa paramount. Nā kona whakapiri mai ki te kaupapa tino whakahira hira whakarongo pi kari kari mai. Hare hare mai, o Taringa hare hare mai. We gotta gather up close everybody. Gather up close everybody. Kani kani move that body. Kani kani move that body.
Mānawa mai e te putanga o Matariki, mānawa mai e te ariki o te rangi, mānawa mai e te mātahi o te tau, e te iwi, te ti, te tā, nau mai, hoki mai ki tā tātou punua pāho, e rere atu nei, anei i te tauhou Māori, ia Matariki kua rewa ki runga, e te iwi tēnā tātou katoa. And here we are. I roto i te studio, and I'm trying to think of what I'm going to say next. After my cool ass karakia ki a Matariki. And because I'm looking this way, e mihi ana ki a kōrua kua tau mai, i roto i tō tātou whare. E te hoa no tawhiti, e kaliko, e mihi ana ki a koe otira, ki a koe rangi, ko hoki mai ki tā tātou kaupapa. And ko tā tātou kaupapa ko Matariki tonu. Oh, yeah. And Matariki marks is our anniversary for Taringa. Yeah. So here we are. So at the I'd like to introduce Professor, Associate Professor, or is it Assistant Professor? Assistant Professor, not quite the Professor.
No, not quite.
Yeah, Assistant Professor Dr. Kaliko Baker. Tēnā koe hoa, kua tā mai. Me koe tahi e hoa, Professor Dr. Rangi Mātāmua. Tēnā koe hoko hoki mai.
Kia ora, bro.
Tēnā hoki tātou. And special guest, ko hoki mai Taria, I nearly said Professor Taria.
Why?
One day maybe, ne Taria. Ko hoki mai ki runga ki tā tātou kaupapa ki a Taringa. Nō reire, mihi ana kia koe te tuahine?
Tēnā koe.
Nau mai hoki mai. And of course, e te prata e mara, anei ko puaheiri, ko snow, taku sound effect tuatahi.
Tēnā koutou katoa, aku manuhiri tuarangi, mihi ana kia kōrua. Kia koe hoki Tario? Te reo tuatahi o Taringa.
Yeah, and even though you're the real tuatahi, so you don't have a sound effect. No, you didn't make it on the keyboard. And you might see I've got a special keyboard. Here we go here. You know, and I'm not going to go like this on the keyboard. But kei konei e tahi oro taunaki mo tēnei terenga o tēnei punua pāho. O Tariao. O Tariao.
O Tariao.
There you go. Look, I've renamed it. O Taringa. Nō reira nau mai tātou. So one Matariki ago, and I can say that, we launched Taringa. And that's really cool because that's one thing I picked up when we were in Hawaii, is when people ask how old you are, they say sort of like ehia or
makahiki.
Or makahiki. Yeah, so I think that's a cool one for us. Instead of saying ehia or tau, that we start saying ehia or matariki.
Oh, man. That might make you a bit younger, eh?
It could do.
It could do. Yeah.
Well, you do miss out that period between the setting and the rising of matariki. So maybe that's a trend we start, ehia or matariki. So Taringa is officially one matariki.
Nice.
I tēnei tau. Nō reira, kia ora tātou, and I'm trying to look for, I've got too many cool, maybe this one. Te mana te ihi te wehi te tapu. O kia ora tātou. So ko tā tātou kaupapa kōrero, ko Matariki. And I'm going to throw the proverbial rākau to you, or the lightsaber to you, Rangi, to start our kōrero off about Matariki tēnei rā. Before we do, actually, I tata wareware, we've got to have our kiwaha. So how tā tātou kiwaha, and you've got the kiwaha for us.
That's what I've been told.
Yes. And our kiwaha is?
Lono i ka makahiki.
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 And can you explain to us how te tikanga o tērā kōrero, lono i ka makahiki?
Lono i ka makahiki is a call out that we have on Koho'olawe that we use to rally around during the makahiki season. Lono is our god during makahiki season that we pay tribute to, and we use the the saying, the name Lono Ika Makahiki, as a way to sort of gather ourselves around whatever we're doing at the time to close out our ceremonies. We could call out Lono Ika Makahiki, and it's just our way of showing that we know who Lono is, and then Lono responds back with his Ho'ai Lona, whatever, his signs that that he's listening in one way or another. So, yeah, that's our Lono Ika Makahiki.
Ka pai. So makahiki is Matariki.
Matariki, oh yeah.
Yeah, and is there any way, or is there any equivalent to Lono within Māori?
I would think
The
Rongo.
Māori pantheon? Rongo.
Rongo,
yeah.
yeah,
So
rongo.
Lono, Rongo,
Aye.
Matariki.
Nā rongo wetere ai.
Oh,
Ai, tō te ko he atu ai,
Ai,
e
ko
ki
he
roto i
atu.
te wānanga o te
Ai,
aroa.
ai,
But so we're talking about rongo, te atu a rongo.
kia ora, Rongo Mātāne. Ka pai.
So Lono Ika Makahiki.
Lono Ika
Lono Ika
Makahiki.
While we were over there, it became an affirmation for us.
Yeah, it's an
Lono Ika
affirmation.
Makahiki.
Aye.
And whenever we sort of, went through the process of tikanga and kawa while we were on Kaho'olawe, and even in the formal and informal situations, we were felt really proud when we yelled out Lono Ika Makahiki. I'll never forget, swimming around at 5 a.m. in the dark naked.
And then calling out Lono Ika Makahiki.
Yep.
It's an exclamation to exude that mana.
Yeah. I like
Yeah,
that exclamation to exude that mana.
Yeah, many of us won't forget you swimming around naked and
Yeah.
over there either,
You
brother.
were exuding your mana at 5 a.m. in the water?
Yes.
Naked, bro.
And I felt the Māori, I felt the force.
Use the force, Luke.
Yeah, sorry, I was a little close.
It was good, eh? So I think to segue in, Rangi, is to talk about, I don't know, the māramatanga, te māramatanga I tau ki runga ki a koe, I tō haerenga, I tō tūtakihanga, tuatahitanga, tuatahi kia kaliko, kia moe ai te iwi e whakarongo mai nei. Hea te Hawaiiana e noho nei roto I a tātou kōrero, and that enlightenment you had when you went over to Hawaii, and its effect on you and us as a people in the Matariki movement present day Aotearoa.
O kia ora, pai tēnā pātai, kia ora tātou. I just want to start by saying congratulations to Taringa.
Oh, yeah.
One Matariki older. This, and I said before we started, this is, in my mind, without doubt, Aotearoa's premier Māori podcast.
Can you say that again, please?
Say that again.
Aotearoa's premier Māori podcast.
Do you need the modifier Māori there?
I don't know what that means. Stop being a linguist.
Could it just be the premiere podcast?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
But it's just, what you guys have done, it's fantastic. And I think some of the kaupapa that you highlight. So, being the wānanga Aotearoa's also been really central in helping make Matariki part of our wider identity and culture across Māoridom, right across Aotearoa wide, and it's becoming part of who we are, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I think that's awesome.
Kia ora.
Anyway, a few years ago, I was in this completely unrelated panel in Hawaii, and doing research on Matariki. I sit next to this person here, Kaliko, and we're about to present, about 10 minutes out, and I'm writing on my piece of paper, and he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm actually preparing my presentation." And he goes, "Same." And so
we both had blank papers.
There was the click.
Yeah, we bonded. And
Yes.
then I went home to his house with his wife Haile and their children, and we had dinner, and we just realised that after a while that what I was doing here and the work we were doing with Matariki, he was doing on the island of Kaho'olawe, and as part of Makahiki and the Hawaiian revitalisation, cultural revitalisation. And so I went over there. Kaliko invited me over, and I spent 5 days together with Kaliko in a tent.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes. There were a few Brokeback Mountain references that were very...
I can't quit you.
Yeah. But what I experienced over
Exuding
there...
mana.
But they had an experience of their traditional celebrations that they've revived, feeding gods, acknowledging their atua, and it being built around makahiki. Now, I had the record of the celebration here, but the practice had fallen to the wayside. And so I came back and with the group Te Matapunenga, which is the karakia group formed by Professor Pau Tiamara, I really came back and pleaded with them to come over and experience what I experienced. And really, the person who backed me was Paraone at the meeting. And a group of us went because he knew that there was something there. And we went, and it's pretty much changed our approach, not only to our practice. We learnt a lot over there. We learnt a lot from the Hawaiians. We're very, very similar. But it gave us, I think, the impetus, the encouragement to re-establish our own practice. And that's what we've done. So this week is the second Umu Kohu Kohu, whāngai te hautapu Matariki ceremony at Paraone's Marae Rāwhiti on Friday morning. And so that's why Kaleko sitting here, bro.
Lono i ka makaiki.
Lono i ka
Lono i
makaiki.
ka makaiki.
E hoa Kaliko,
Eo.
the revival or the homecoming, the coming back of makahiki to Kaho'olawe has played a huge part in the revival of a lot of things. I roto i tō ahure, I roto i tō iwi. Perhaps you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So makahiki started for us, restarted in the early 80s on Kaho'olawe. And it was started because at the time we were trying to stop the bombing on Kaho'olawe. And there was a lawsuit that was at hand, and the question was, when's your Christmas, when's your Easter, when's your whatever, the holiday is going to ask in his holiday way when our holidays are, our religious holidays. And we were that was back in the early 80s. I was just out of diapers at that time. No, I was just a few years beyond that. But the elders in the Ohana now, they were told it's makahiki, you guys have to go out, and that's really under the advice of Auntie Edith Kanakaole, Auntie Pua's mom. And she said, no, you gotta restore Lono on the island, because Lono is is the god that will heal the island. So thus Auntie Edith gave to her daughter, Auntie Naoani, the kawoha, the order to design our ceremonies for us, because we've had a couple hundred years probably by then of almost a couple hundred years of non-practice of makahiki, especially the ceremonial side. So she did the research, created a couple karakia, a couple pule for us, and then from there we moved on, and we've been rolling makahiki 36, 37, 38 years, going on our 38 year. Yeah, so
38 makahiki.
yeah, Kanakolu Kumawalu makahiki. Yeah, that's this year. We'll make Kanakolu Kumawalu, I believe. But yeah, so it's had a political movement, but it's really been able to evolve into the spiritual movement, the whole mana movement that it needs to be for our people. And it's also it parallels the movement of the wa'a, the hokule'a, and that movement as well. So the Kaho'olawe movement and the wa'a movement, the language movement, those are all parallel in time. And you can't really say that they're distinct movements. They sort of the agents within them, the players within them, sort of weave. They go in and out of each movement. Like for us, on the Kaho'olawe side, there's a lot of same characters in each scene. There's some of our Kaho'olawe people we're on the worldwide voyage just last year. Came back last year, and so it's really interwoven nicely, I believe, the movements. And then lately, as of the last 20 years, perhaps, we've been weaving more the language side into it, and that's it's being that I'm a language guy. It's kind of my goal is to see more olelo, and it's important. I think as practitioners of things Hawaiian to be fluent in Hawaiian, as you know very well. If you can't speak the language of the gods, then you can't speak to the gods.
Kia ora. Kia ora.
Yeah, so it's lono ika makahiki. If you don't know what lono ika makahiki means and how you can break it down, then how much mana can you put into that olelo? You're going to be limited by your awareness, your understanding of the language. But anyway, so makahiki back home, and Molokai Molokai's been on. Molokai is Kaho'olawe, actually, if you think about the whole movement, but that's a whole nother podcast. But Molokai, the same year we started our makahiki, they started theirs. And they've been running their makahiki consistently every year since then. So there is not only the Kaho'olawe makahiki, there's a Molokai makahiki. And that one's kind of big. It's popular. People fly in, stay in. Molokai is populated last weekend of January every year, I believe. They have their makahiki. So it's really by the Gregorian calendar. It's not down. It's not really by the Makari'i rising and whatnot. But it's a celebration nonetheless of something Hawaiian, of being in makahiki. But what we've also seen is makahiki practices, ceremonies popping up throughout the archipelago, throughout the Pai'aina. And not to say that it's because of Kaho'olawe and the practice on Kaho'olawe, it's just our people feel that makahiki is something that they can wrap their minds around, they can wrap their na'au, their inners around, and get into. Yeah, the naka. Yeah, naka. Right? Yeah, and they can wrap around that and get into that space and do ho'omana kahiko. It's a nice bridge for us, as to be honest, with our colonized minds and ways and habits and whatnot, to get back into who we are as Maoli.
Kia ora.
Yeah.
Rangi had and he was enlightened. He came back, and then I felt the maramatanga from him, and then I wanted to go and experience it for myself. And I did.
All right.
It was an experience. And it was that I came back here, and like a lot of the guys here in this room, I had the hui when I came back from Hawaii, and I said, look, we've got to do this mahi that supports Rangi Mātāmu and supports Matariki, and then Te Iwa Matariki concept was dreamed up, and then we went around the country, and you were here when we took that big truck around the country.
That was awesome.
And that was out of inspiration.
Right.
Inspiration from Rangi, your inspiration, the inspiration of being there in Kaho'olawe. And while I think, Rangi, you've done awesome work, heaps of work, and I think Te Wānanga Aotearoa has been lucky to be a part of that. And that must be the haze, it's haze machine. It's all right.
Lono ika
makahiki.
I felt it in my nako.
Nako.
Hare tona.
I am your father.
But this you go on social media and there's people on giving resources and things like that, and can still see that we've still got a lot of work to do. I mean, there's people saying that this is the time we used to plant, and there's still kōrero like that, so there's still lots of work we need to do.
There are some, and there are some regional and tribal differences. We have that for everything, okay?
Yeah.
And so there are some things that are traditionally regionalised, and I get that, but there are some things that are fundamentally wrong. and they have been part of colonisation. It's really, really hard to strip that back. You know, and the biggest 5 are probably, number 1, more often than not, the picture's upside down because we ripped the Pleiades picture from the northern hemisphere that's online and say, and TVNZ, you hear Scotty's voice, 45,000 light years from Earth, and and then this image comes up. It's not Scotty's fault, but TVNZ, the image is upside down. That's our national broadcaster.
Wow.
You know, so that's 1. Number 2, the Little Eyes thing. Yeah, no. Nowhere in the Pacific is it Little Eyes except here, because Elton Best translated it as Little Eyes. There's no narrative, no story. That's wrong, and we're retelling ourselves. 3, 7 sisters. Hey, that's a Greek myth. And even though, you know, I don't know, you reckon I look like the 300 dudes? You know, the Greeks?
Yes.
Thank you. Leonidas?
That one.
Yes, my gracious host. Yes.
The job of the hut. Yes, so Little Eyes is no. You know, that's number 1 is around timing because, and this is where it gets technical. You know, what we've done is we've grabbed our lunar months. And they're actually all stars. So our ancestors followed a lunar stellar calendar. Whiringa, nuku whiringa, rangi haki hea, pautu, te rangi pipiri, they're all stars.
Kia ora.
So when they rise before the sun, we know which month it is. But your month doesn't start until the lunar cycle clicks over, right? And then because it's 11 days shorter each year, every year you drop in an extra month, but you have to know when to drop it in for it to catch up with the calendar. And so quite often we are outside celebrating it and saying, oh, you know, it's Matariki. Now it's not even visible. And because we're trying to reconcile a traditional celebration that's based around a lunar calendar, lunar stellar year, with our modern Western Gregorian solar calendar, and it's out of sync. And I don't know if that makes sense to everyone, but it makes sense to me.
2 different calendars.
2 different calendars.
Yeah, they don't
2
jive.
different divisions of time, eh? But because colonisation, it's just so impressive, you know, it's like the dark side of the Force. It's really hard to strip it back.
Or the Empire or the Rebellion.
Yes, the Empire.
Hey, come on.
The colonizer is the father, bro. I am your father.
Oh, there he is.
So those are probably the biggest misconceptions
Kia ora.
in my mind. Yeah.
Every couple of years, you drop in a month.
Every 3 years.
3 years,
Yeah,
you
because,
drop in a month.
you know, if it's 11 days shorter, the lunar calendar is 11 days shorter than a solar calendar. So in 2 years, it's 22 days out. 3 years, it's 33 days out, a month. Because the positions of the stars change, right, you have to slip it in so the stars rise higher in the sky and then you start your year again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all...
Ko te reitari o.
Yep, tōna.
It's all based around Matariki. Yeah, so Matariki will mark this is now the new year.
Yeah.
Oh, ka pai.
Okay.
And so the 30 days before would be that time where you'd insert it to...
Yes, so you know the saying, te pōtūtanga nui o pipiri, the long extended nights of pipiri. And we say it for the dead people, eh?
Right.
We say go into the long nights because winter, the nights are a lot longer than the summer and it's
Kia ora.
cold. Actually, that phrase comes from the saying, nā pōtūtanga nui o pipiri. What's the long extended nights of pipiri? Now, pipiri is a twin star.
Kia ora.
And when it rises, the first star, in correlation, when you see Matariki, bang, New Year, and you go through your lunar calendar. Second year, it'll be a bit lower in the sky, bang, you go through. The third year, it's not in the sky. So you have to wait, not for the first, but for the second twin star. Insert your new month, your lunar calendar catches up.
Is there a name for that new month?
It's, well, the period is called Ruhanui.
Ruhanui.
That's how, and so it's the listless period, right? The listless month. But
Okay.
what they say is, te pōtūtanga nui, nā pōtūtanga nui o pipiri, the long extended nights of pipiri. That's how you reconcile your calendar. But you have to know which stars denote which month.
Aye.
And then your lunar cycle clicks over. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Iai.
Lonoi ka makahiki. I think, for the, because I know a lot of people listening and watching this podcast will sort of be different entry levels into, for want of a better, Matariki culture.
Oh, yeah.
And there are some that are a bit more educated, you know, than they were, say, 3 years ago.
Or opinionated.
Yeah, exactly. And there'll be other ones that are watching and listening that are sort of this is like really, really new knowledge to them. So they've been learning about Matariki and they're getting on the celebration buzz. But one of the first things they miss is the actual timing for Matariki.
Kia ora, yep.
So, you know, there's still out there's people that think that Matariki rises, you know, the same time every year. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, it doesn't. And here's the biggest difference. Oh, we're getting away from the microphone. Here's the biggest difference between the solar calendar
Wow.
and is that ko te ua tira?
Ai.
Waipunarangi.
Matariki tā puapua.
Matariki tā puapua.
Wow.
It's a natural sound effect, you know. So it's, you know, it's... There you go, Te whānau. That's not me with the keyboard.
Anyway, what I was saying, yeah, the difference between a solar calendar and a lunar calendar, lunar cycle, and most indigenous cultures around the world follow lunar. The solar calendar, you determine when you're ready. That's what you say to the environment. I want Christmas 25th of December every year. I want New Year's the 1st of Jan every year because I'm ready. Now, in a lunar cycle, the environment dictates to you, no e hoa, I'm ready.
Aye.
And you have to fit in. So we follow cycles. And because living in a lunar calendar, we're cyclic, right? There are times of fasting, times of feasting. We're fat sometimes like animals. Hey, you'll watch a bird, some seasons they're fat, some seasons they're lean, and their behaviour changes.
Oh, my cycle's way out.
Yeah, that's because, hey, in the
You
solar...
need to be on a bicycle.
Get off the motorcycle, but on the bicycle.
Whereas in a solar year, we manipulate our environment, right? So
Yeah.
we eat whatever, you know, tomatoes, you're getting them now in the middle of winter.
Aye.
You know, so we manipulate our environment and we don't cycle like the moon and the seasons. And so I think that's got a massive issue because even our divisions of time are colonised.
Aye.
Yeah.
And we think we have to justify Matariki in our times and say, oh, we justify it to a Pākehā division of time.
Yeah.
We don't have to justify it. We just have to practice it.
Yeah.
Hey, and by living it, that's how it survives.
You know, that was cool, what you just said about my calendar and the world calendar, you know, te maramataka Māori. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking, you know, when I say to my wahine, you know, I want to go now. This is, you know, when I'm ready. And she goes, no. We're going to go when I'm ready. And kei te titiro ki te marama, ki te kōrero e wahine. So, you know, nā whai anō.
Nā whai anō. You're talking about shopping, eh?
I'm talking about lots of things.
Aye, kia ora.
But we'll just leave that. We'll just leave that to the side now.
Well,
So she's the moon and you're a shooting star.
But I love, that's a really cool description.
Aye.
You know, that it's about, we're trying to fit te tai ao I roto I tō tātou maramataka.
Kia ora.
Tangata nei, but it's the other way around. And that's Māori. You know, it's Māori, it's Māori, it's iwi take take. Do you think there'll ever be a time, or do you dream of a time? So I look at cultures like Muslim, Chinese, and they quite comfortably live in 2 calendars. You know, the Gregorian calendar and then their indigenous maramataka Māori. You know, do you? I'm sure you do. I mean, I do. I dream of a time when we'll be able to sort of live by both, be able to observe both calendars.
But it's relevance. That's a thing that we're missing, right? I don't understand why we celebrate a 9-foot rabbit that gives birth to chocolate eggs.
Aye.
Hey, or a fat guy that breaks into your house in a red suit. I mean, what's up with that? Whereas we've got something that's
Stop doing
uniquely...
Wearing red suits.
You're wearing red.
I had to get him for Igor. You know, these are actually his shoes. You know?
See, because I'm not wearing it, he took my shoes off when I was hanging from the chimney.
I mean, Matariki's from here. Hey, it's relative and it has a connection to our environment and who we are. And I'd love to see where we can actually live by 2. Why can't we live by 1? Well, can't we go back to living by a lunar calendar, you know, and being cyclic in many ways and understanding, yep, we need to fit in with the rest of the world, but we can still base it out of our own division of time.
Tēnā koe. Tēnā koe hoa.
Ono i ka makahiki.
Now, you know, I'm recalling, my memory's going back when went to Wānanga Aotearoa, done te iwa o Matariki, and, you know, we took that truck around te ika a Māui, and sorry, e te ngā whanaunga o te Waipounamu, we didn't make it down there, but I was always getting, because I said I wanted te Wānanga Aotearoa to be unapologetic in our approach to Matariki, and to support your mātauranga and your research. And one of them was around the 9 stars. And I always said, when I went out, I said, look, up to you whether you're 7 stars or you want to believe in the 9, the 9 stars. But the fact of the matter was that we need to observe Matariki in a bit more of a deeper way. You know, that it's the tapu to do with Matariki.
Yeah, you know, I think we might have upset a few people about that paraone, and we didn't mean to, right? I'm grateful for the wānanga who gave my ancestors' knowledge a platform.
Kia ora.
And it has actually gone everywhere. And my personal belief is that this adherence to 7 has been influenced by the whole colonised 7 sisters. Now, there are tribes that say there are 7 for them, and I think that's awesome. It's just my ancestor recorded 9, and then he goes into this real detailed description of where they are, what they mean, how to read them. And I think for me, I wanted to find a way to help share that. And those that are willing to accept that and be part of that movement, awesome. And those that aren't, you know, that's cool too. You know, I'm not saying that I have mine is the only version. I always say that, you know. There are these other regional and tribal differences. And I think celebrating our differences is a good thing. It doesn't make us adversaries. It actually makes us richer. It makes us richer because we have these unique aspects of us that are special to us. So it's not that I'm trying to recolonize. I'm just trying to share what I have. And whoever's willing to partake in that, then, you know, no mine.
I totally appreciate that too, because there's no... I don't mind. Motako here, yoga. But because I think it does create, when it is in a good environment, healthy conversation, healthy debate, because there are differences there, and I do appreciate your effort to put that mātauranga out, because we're no longer discussing over which historian wrote it. We're talking about which Māori, person that had handed down from their tupuna. You know, I'd rather discuss over that type of information than it came from a person or historian or anthropologist who do that. And a lot of people do that. And it goes, but it says in best quotes. Yeah. They're quoting best. And it's like, well, who not better than to debate about this with our professors of mātauranga Māori who come from tupuna Māori.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that, bro. You know, we're funny Māori people, right? We're quite happy to accept Pākehā telling us who we are.
Kia ora.
Hey, and don't raise questions or issues. They say little eyes, we're like little eyes, and we tell ourselves that. And they say you go out in the night of Whiro, which is the god of disease, plague, pestilence and death, to look for the prosperous signs of the year. And we go, yes, Whiro, because the Pākehā says it. There you go. However, when a Māori speaking Māori, practitioner of tikanga speaking Māori with kōrero tuku iho, 20 years of research, puts out, well, there is this knowledge. Well, all of a sudden, it's like, don't come and try and tell us we have, you know, don't bring your tūhoi knowledge here.
For eons, it's been 7 sisters.
Yeah, and so we'll defend the right for a Pākehā to tell us who we are, but when a Māori, and that's part of colonisation, when a Māori puts forward a theory based on his own research, it's a threat.
Yeah.
I always remember when, you know, because we started in Whangarei with Te Iwa o Matariki, and, the response was just, we had people come without their children, and then they went and pulled their kids out of school and then brought them, because we're only there for one day. And I remember one lady, and I got her details, and she was crying through Te Iwa o Matariki, and afterwards she approached me, and she said, I thought I was going crazy. And I said, why? And she goes, because we have a 9-star tradition in our hapu. But because my kids and mokopuna have learnt at kura, 7 stars, 7 stars, and she would say 9. And she didn't know the names of them, but she'd been told 9. So her kaumātua had handed down a 9-star tradition to her. And when she shared that with her mokopuna, and they said, no, Nan, there's only 7, you know. So she started thinking, well, maybe what I heard was wrong. You know, and she was crying tears of joy that, you know, there was some kōrero out there. And I got the same too when I had to go and back up the kōrero at one of the paukai. And I had one of the kaumātua, you know, come and, you know, say to me, I've heard a 9-star kōrero. For me, it was inspirational in the fact that I got people thinking about Matariki and inspired them to go out and do some of their own rangahau. And, you know, not just take everything that comes off, you know, that they read, and, you know, best isn't the best, you know?
It's not the mata mua.
He's not the
He's not the mata mua, I like that. He's not the mata mua.
Stated in Mata Mua States.
Yeah, that's
I'm glad
really
you
what
brought
it
that
is.
up.
It's really, we got to get back to trusting ourselves. And that's part of the whole decolonization process, is knowing that we can know, and knowing that if we do the proper research and we check ourselves amongst ourselves, then we can we'll leap forward. Will profoundly leap forward, I believe. And back home for us, you know, we're talking about the Maramataka, the Kaulana Mahina. Back for us is Kalei Nuhiva. She's, I've been fortunate to be her friend for a long time and sit on her MA committee and now on her PhD committee. And I learn a lot every time just sitting with her. And that whole every 3 years you add in a month thing was one of the things I remember picking up from her MA thesis. I thought, oh yeah, you got 30 days in a month, 30 nights in a month. And I just, you know, I basically think, oh, well, but it doesn't some of our solar months, Southern Gregorian months have like 31? What happens to those days? You know, the math doesn't add up, but I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to get in my car and drive. You know, and go to my house with electricity. But anyway, so, you know, but when you think about it, you need to know the mo'olelo, the kōrero of the past, so that you can understand how the kaulana mahina, the maramataka works. And getting back to your question about living in both calendars, living through both calendars, I think it's possible. I think it's possible, but I think they're distinct. But you have to understand when to use one and when to use the other. That is, if we're going to be doing traditional practices, those are completely based on the traditional system.
Kia ora. No budgie,
No budgie.
And
But then, you know, but if people, like back home, if people want to do makahiki in, say, late January, and like the Molokai guys that make this big celebration, go for it. I say go for it, but we're gonna do the ceremonial part during the ceremonial time, and that's okay. Even if it's just 10, 20 of us doing it, it's okay. We handle that kuleana, that responsibility, and we execute it to the best that we can for the greater lahui, the greater people. Yeah.
Does Matariki present itself in a different formation from the north? The northern hemisphere?
Oh, it's the right. It's the right side up. It's right side up.
It's the right side up.
Yes, it's right side
down,
up.
bro. Upside down.
I was just gonna say most of us are above the equator, I believe. No, I don't know. Is that right?
Yeah, because you know the quality's down. In this
quality's down this.
Well, it might. Let's just call it a truce and say we'll respect each other's views of makali'i. But for us, you know, makali'i, he was a god, I guess, of sorts, a traditional character in our history, and a kupuna, as we might say. But he was like, he's really kolohe. He really wasn't the nicest guy. He's always accused of being the one who took all the food from the people. He's the chief that took all the food from the people, took it up to the sky, put it in his net. And then his net, his koko, would hang, and it would just like tease everybody with the food. And it wasn't until Kane Apua goes looking for the hopo, the chest of Kane himself, where all the love is. He was looking for the love, I think, of his father, whatever he gets on to. And he's looking for that, and he passes Makali'i, and he sees all the food for the people, and he sends his rats to go and gnaw on the cordage of the net, and then all the food just helele'i, it just falls down to the earth, and people get to eat. So for us, Makali'i, not the coolest kupuna out there, but he definitely is the name of the star, the clusters, the star cluster, and he marks our makahiki season, and our marking is our demarcation.
Yours setting, right?
Yeah, ours is setting.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, setting of the sun. Yeah, and makali'i pukas, I believe. Yeah. So when it's balanced like that, when it's balanced for us, and it's gonna balance a different high, it's gonna balance in different ways depending in different areas.
That's the acroniacal. The acroniacal.
That's our acroniacal.
Haliacal.
And heliacal.
Heliacal.
Yeah. Heliacal and acroniacal. And punch the micacal.
Those are English words, by the way, to me, not Hawaiian words.
Yes. Is that a real word? Thank you. Thank you, Professor Matamu.
Obviously didn't read my book.
Obviously.
I just went over those.
Look at the pictures and there just isn't any good.
Here's the book.
Gave you a signed
Way
copy.
more pictures in there.
You know, sign you a copy and you didn't read it.
I've read parts. There's actually a picture in there from when the Matapuninga came over for Makahiki. Yeah? I believe there's a picture of the lele,
There is.
the kuahu. Yeah.
Could you perhaps explain the practice of what you do for Matariki, and then Rangi could perhaps elaborate on what he started to do here?
So what we do for Makahiki is we have essentially offerings for lono, and you can see them on top of the lele. We call that the wooden structure a lele. We have an opening and a closing to the season, and for us on Kaho'olawe, it's really about regreening the island because the island was so devastated by the bombing and 50 years of bombing, and then before that there was ranching, goats were pretty bad. So our goal is to regreen the island, and we've been fairly successful, and of course the spiritual side has to be complemented by the work side.
Kia ora.
Yeah, so the Kaho'olawe Island Reserve Commission, along with the Protect Kaho'olawe Ohana, have work projects that replant and figure out ways to just kind of smart ways to get around not having water on the island. It's pretty barren, Panoa. So it's so that's our ceremony is just the offerings placed upon the lele. I'm not going to go into the details of that so much, but well, I can talk a little bit about when the Matapuninga folk came, and Rangi talked about his first visit, and I'm usually so busy trying to get everything going and make sure everybody's on pace with what we need to get done that maybe I miss how the wailua affects everybody, and it wasn't until we got off that he said, yeah, that was pretty awesome. And then later I hear, he wants to get the Matapuninga guys over, and then he tells me how much he was moved by the way we committed to the presence of our akua. Because we erect lono. Lono makua stands before us when we're doing the ceremonies. You have to be at your best. The tapu is high. It's high. Yeah.
Is that why you won't explain you won't go any more further then?
Yeah.
I
would invite you to come.
Yeah.
When these guys come back, you guys are welcome to come. But Or if they don't come, whatever, you guys are still welcome to come. Hamama, Kapuko, Kahale. But so it's just when the akua is standing and the conch, the poo blows, and we start doing our karakia and our chants, and the game is on, and
Wow.
it's pretty high. Yeah, and then we all dress because it's warm back home. Yes, it's warm. So we even during our winter months, so we all hume malo. We put on the malo, and then and then the women wear the ki kepa. So we have all these symbols of ceremony that we get into and utilize so that we keep our focus. Lono i ka makahiki, the call, the kiwaha o ki ala is also another aspect of our focus. But so there's all that, and so Rangi was explaining how moved he was by that, and I thought to myself, I guess that's something special,
Yeah.
it's kind of normal. For me,
That's cool.
By now.
That's cool.
And it wasn't normal when I started. I'll tell you that when I was 21-ish when I started. Yeah, I know. I was like 21 when I started, 22 maybe, I'm not too sure. But
The 60s.
And now that I'm well into my 30s.
30 makahiki.
And
30th year of being on Makahiki, how old no, but anyway, so it's just come somewhat normal for us, and we don't really realize, how impactful what we do can be, and it's not only for the Rangis, it's also for our own people.
Kia ora.
And then when Praone guys came, and they were all moved, and start from the hi'uai, our cleansing ceremony in the morning, where we all disrobe and go into the water and get ready for the ceremony. Naked. Yeah, we had a kohana. And
Tutara kauika.
one more. We got one more. Throw it in there. Yes, let's throw it in, because it's something you gotta ease the moment with comedy, because the mind is a little bit colonized, so it's hard to get our na'au around the whole notion of being naked together. It's dark, so we plan it out like that. So we're gonna have to look at each other.
But it's warm up there.
It's warm. It's pretty warm.
Yeah.
It's warm enough.
Aye.
It's not like, say, going to the river in Keaumutune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a pre-cleansing before the ceremony.
Pre-cleansing. So yeah.
Wow.
So when Praone guys came, getting back to the point I was going to make.
I like that, Praone guys.
Praone guys. Yeah. Praone ma.
Praone
Yeah.
guys.
So when Rangi brought his friends.
Praone guys.
Rangima.
Oh, sorry. He's the captain of the ship, so we say Paraone guys. Nolila. So we get into the water, we get out, and Te Kura Taiaho, Lono Holo I Kahiki, was so moved that he wanted to have his name changed from then.
Wow, so it was there.
Yeah. So it was, and I remember it was after the Hikuai, he came up and he said, "Bro, I'm different." And I was like, "Oh." And this is my second day of knowing this man. And I was, it's moving. It's moving. Yeah. It was a good hi'uai. And then as the ceremony, we went into ceremony, and I was just like, because it's got so many things to do, right? Make sure everything's happening. And then the last day, sure enough, we did the tohi. Yeah, the tohi. Tohi had the tohi down in Hakiwawaiki, a bay away. And it was just the Matapuninga, my son, Kaipu, and myself. It was quite the scene. Yeah.
I think it was.
So it's like his birthday.
Yeah, Makahiki
is also symbolic, a representation of our relationship and how we're going to move this papahana, this kaupapa forward. And it's really about, Rangi says it's not about recolonizing the people, but in a sense, hey, if it happens, it happens. Because at least we're Kanakanizing.
Yeah.
We're Kanakafying.
Kanakizing.
Kanakaizing. Lono iku makahiki. Yeah, so we're re-establishing Kanaka Maoli consciousness through ceremony. So there's all kinds of ways to establish consciousness and be conscious, and one of them, the keys are language and ceremony.
Kia ora.
You gotta have, because those are the two sides that we need to know who we are.
So we just heard from Ikaliko about some of your traditions. E rangi hia ngētehia ngā tātou tikanga mo te whakanui a Matariki.
Again, there are some regional differences, right? But the ceremony that I know, and it seems to be something that's fairly much was generic. There seems to be a lot of evidence and research throughout the country of people doing a umu kohu kohu whetū, or an oven that was cooked to feed the stars. And I noticed when I was on Hawaii that they do the same thing. They cook food and offer them on an altar to feed their gods and to feed lono. Our ancestors would cook kai in the ground. And there were three major parts of the ceremony. Number one, we would read Matariki. We would read the star in the correct lunar phase to determine the bounty of the new year. That would guide us generally as a wider philosophy for the year. Was it going to be a good fishing year, good birding year, good planting year, a lot of deaths that year, a windy year, a rainy year, depending on the way that the cluster revealed itself. Number two, and probably the thing that is missing from the practice, is taki mō teatea, where they would call out the names of all of the people that had died since the last rising. And, this year has been one of those years. It's been really... And actually, when we were on Rangiatea with Paraone last year, our Matariki ceremony kicked off here in Raukawa, and at Paraone's marae, and on top of a hillside that was an old pā and is connected to astronomy, neha. That Kaliko was with us. We called out the names of the people that had died that year. This year we'll be doing the same, and there's a long list. That's taki mō teatea, and our ancestors would wail and cry and farewell the dead, because Matariki has carried them throughout the year, and we released them to become stars in the sky. And the last thing we did was uncover the oven, and the food would rise, the steam. There's a saying, and people say, nā kai a Matariki nāna I awake nei. And they say, that's the food that Matariki brings. No, awake means to scoop up from above, right? That's Matariki coming down to partake in the food that you're offering Matariki. So Matariki will bring the bounty again next year, and Matariki will carry our dead again this year. And then that food was placed on an altar. Karakia was done to the different stars of Matariki for the dead. It's an awesome philosophy, because it covers off all of these different elements, 9 of them. Dead with Pohutukawa, Tipu Anuku with the ground, with the gardens, Tipu Arangi with anything in the birds and the trees, Waiti fresh water, Waita salt water, Ururangi wind, Waipunarangi rain, Hiwai te rangi, the promise. So you go from death to life, good to bad, promise of a new year. And the final one is Matariki itself, which is about well-being. That star itself is connected to ensuring well-being and prosperity. So that's a whole philosophy in itself, encompassed in the way that we divide out the things that are important to us as Māori. So that's fairly much the ceremony. Happens before the sun rises. That's fairly much the ceremony.
One of the questions I got asked Rangi, that I know we are yet to address in our wānanga, going back 2 years now when Te Ua Matariki done the rounds, and there's that scene in Te Ua Matariki where the tohunga uncover the umukuhukuhu whetu and then they karakia. And I got asked a couple of times by etahi o nā whānau kōrero Māori nei whānau aro ki te tikanga Māori tupu i roto i te ao Māori. And they said to me, do we have to be tohunga to do that whakahaere? Yeah, and they because they feel that they're at a point now where they want to celebrate and pay homage to Matariki in a Māori way. And they want to know, what can we do on that level to celebrate and pay homage to Matariki without coming to Rangiatea, without coming to Te Matapuninga. Yeah, when will that time be right for us to have a wānanga about that?
And I think that is awesome. One of the best and most intimate ceremonies around honouring Matariki, was between an old man. This is in the 1850s, I think, 1860s maybe. An old man, an old wife, and their grandchild, just the three of them, in South Taranaki.
Kia ora.
And they cooked an oven waited for Matariki over a period of nights because it wasn't visible on the first Tangaroa night or the lunar phase. So they waited for the 4 nights of Tangaroa. So it's the first visible morning across those 4 nights. And I think they waited for a couple of days. They don't mention any karakia. What was mentioned is she wailed, called out the names of the dead. And I think it says that he acknowledged the star group by way of mihi. And then they cooked food and fed the stars. So I don't know. I think that you don't have to, and that's one of the great things about the way I think that shows Māori, you don't need to go to the big elaborate ceremony for it to have importance to you. You know, you can practice as you feel free to practice. I think those big ceremonies though are really points of where things converge, right? And you have, there's a wairuatanga there's a spirituality and it's manifest out of a collective belief. That's one thing. Collective belief manifests a particular spirituality that where we openly within tapu feed our gods and then ensure the bounty of the year. This one was just an intimate ceremony between 3 people, and it's the mokopuna or the grandchild that writes their recollection of that event.
Wow.
And that's actually from a place where people say, oh, we don't celebrate Matariki, but it's in the record and there's a lot of iwi. And I'm not saying that what celebrate now is wrong. You know, there's this puanga Matariki debate. Everywhere that has puanga, there's a record of Matariki.
Kia ora.
Everywhere that has Matariki, there's a record of puanga. And if I could just say, you know, one of the things that I'm kind of a little bit want to kind of shed some light on this year and the coming years is Matariki's one of 1,000 stars. Right? Seems to be the only time we're interested in the sky.
Tēnā koe.
Hey, then we go back to worrying about sky television. Hey, it's the only time in anyone, and when Matariki's around, everyone's an astronomer.
Yep.
But when it's gone, hey, no one cares about the names of the other stars or what they mean because we're estranged from our environment, because we're living Western and only practice this Māori division of time and Māori beliefs for this, you know, week-long period that is Matariki. Then I think we need to shift our thinking and understanding. It has to be a practice everyday thing.
Especially, you know, we talk about the summertime and that when everyone's outside, you know, look up to the sky is the best time to see, you know, what other constellations are. But I'd like to add on, I'd like to really appreciate what you talked about, that whānau having their intimate time with their own umukohukohu. And it takes me back to what you were talking about before with Western holidays. That's a whānau opening their presents at Christmas. That's a whānau doing their own little Easter egg hunt. So I think that's really there.
And it's also about celebrating, you know, we talk about the big gods, right? The big gods, Rongo and Tāwhiri and Tu, but there are lots and lots and lots of gods. Hey, and Kaitiaki and whānau and regional, and you know, and I think those were also part of ceremonies that were fed, and you had gods of war and gods of growing the gardens and all of these things, and all the stars in Matariki are atua in their own right, and you have a connection to them. So sometimes, the big ones are awesome. There's something special about those intimate personal relationships you have with your atua.
With the the reawakening, I guess, in Hawaii and then here, i Aotearoa nei. And I just want to talk on a personal and whānau and hapu level, is the whānau that were involved in last year's Matariki are looking, look forward now to Matariki.
Oh.
And I can say, I've sort of, it's Matariki, but being a part of Ngā Whakahaere ki a Matariki last year took me to another level of consciousness, Indigenous consciousness. And the same with our tamariki. So I've got a mokopuna coming back this year, and he's been waiting for Matariki to come because he came to the one last year. And he knows now in his head, ko Matariki te tauhou Māori. And say I've got him out of school for the week.
Nice.
Because he kura tēnei, te hari i a tātai tamariki. And then a lot of the whānau that came to Taumukohukohu last year, we're looking forward to it. Pēnei tēnei tau i a tātou i mahi tēnei tau. So, I think that normalisation is coming.
Yeah, definitely.
It's going to come in the next generation.
Yeah.
It's going to come in the next generation.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm feeling really i waiwai ako kamo i te wai ki te inga tamariki. How lucky are they to be at this time? Amongst such great people revitalising this stuff. Their reactivation or their activation is going to be really early. They're going to, how lucky they are there in this time. It's beautiful.
And it's part of the plug for my next bit. Part of my plug.
You're not opening a kohanga, are you?
Oh, hey. Well, kind of. You might be a bit old. But one of the things that I hope to do in the next couple of years is to establish whare kōkorangi Māori.
Kia ora.
Or a traditional school of Māori astronomy. And not to teach so people know, but to teach so people practice.
Kia ora.
Tēnā koe.
And growing a new generation of Māori astronomical practitioner who can be an astrophysicist, who can understand the giant balls of gas and theories of gravity and relativity.
I was going to say,
But can also connect with it on a environmental, cultural, but more specifically spiritual manner.
Tēnā koe.
And that's the long-term vision, because it's only with practice that it becomes normalised. And otherwise we stick it, it's like a museum piece, eh? We look at it once a year and go, ooh, and our ancestors used to do this, but the question is, what are we doing now?
So within 40-something years of accessing Kaho'olawe, we've seen from 76 till today, we've seen generations of people who have been, starting from being arrested, tried in a court of law for going to Kaho'olawe, going on island, doing makahiki, going through the ceremonial process, and being led and followed by military personnel, to not having the personnel present, to just us being on the island today when we do ceremony. When ceremonies happen, everything else on the island shuts down. When ceremonies happen now, everything, all the people who are not in our ceremony are around to help us facilitate our ceremony. And speaking about the tamariki, I think, about our son Kaipu and our daughter Kaiu. Kaipu is raised in this. He's been around it his whole life. His name comes from being in ceremony.
Wow.
So he knew from birth that his role in Hawaii-dom, if we want to call it that, is to fulfill to be a mo'olono or a priest of lono, and to carry the torch, and to further the process, further our practice, our knowledge, our ability to be mo'olono, to be kahuna someday, to be able to wield the sword that are or the pahoa that our ancestors wielded on the heiau and in the hale, and then the whole the tangi or the whole level that we used to have where people would cry, and you talked about that and put on there. And yeah, we've got so much record of that well into the colonial period. And we used to publish our kanikau and our kumakena, these are all lament chants, in the newspaper, because crying was a public thing.
Kia ora.
Crying, grieving, showing that emotion was a public thing. And in fact, just a little side note, when a student of ours back at Manoa did a paper on ho'okipa or hospitality, the generalization he came up with was crying. Everybody cried. When you see somebody come up, you cry. So why don't we cry today? You know, when we go to funerals nowadays, for us back home, and you know, Rangi and I have talked about this, and our funerals, they're so far away from the death.
Aye.
You know, like you guys is like bang, die, you're in the ground. You know, it's pretty quick, right? For us, it's like dragged out a month or so.
Wow.
So by the time you hit the funeral, you've cried already. You've already cried in the privacy of your own home. So, yeah, I think there's many aspects of our culture that that we could use to bring back. And you know, I think Matariki practice is definitely, you know, it's a positive move for our peoples, and I think us working together and just talking about how we can better serve our people through the practice is very positive.
Tēnā koe. Tēnā koe, Kaliko. We're going to go start this way in the closing whakaro, kei a koe tariao, and then kia koe pueiri, and then mau e whakaotia kei a tātai kōrerangi, and then we're going to have our celebration with a pie. So, ka pua pēnei. Kua eke a tātai.
Slack the girt.
Yeah. Now these kōrero have been cool. So now Te Arareo class, these last couple of weeks, we've been talking about Matariki with our students. And a lot of the pātai that were asked of me and Merea, one of our kaiako, were answered in here. So it's cool that I can take this back to our students.
Tēnā koe.
Okay.
Lazy teacher.
Oh, yep.
Here's your resource. Oh.
Tēnā kōrua, tēnā tātai.
Yeah. Pai motunga ngā kōrero ko whariki hea. Ai tēnei wā tonu. He nawa nei te kiri. Te rongo i etahi o ngā kōrero ko puta nei a kōrua nei ngā manihiri tūārangi nei. In a previous episode, a few episodes, we talked about whakapono. What is whakapono? And Pakake talked about everyone has something they need to believe in, or everyone has a whakapono. Where do you put that whakapono? And then there comes a time when, you know, things like this happen, and I talked about how lucky our tamariki are, and a beautiful place to plant your whakapono is in our indigenous spiritual expressions. So yeah, koina tāku, kia ora.
Ka pai. Well, for me, I think the revival of Matariki, you know, it's more than just a period of celebration. Celebration bit's cool. But what it is for Māori, we understand ourselves not by viewing ourselves as smaller, disconnected parts, right? As you probably would do from a Western framework when you're researching, you look for something ever smaller, but how all of these smaller parts connect and are interconnected with each other. I think that's one of the things that Matariki is really about. It's all of these different elements that group of stars make up that are connected to everything and everyone. So while they all have their own parts, they rise as a cluster. I think that's one of its overall fundamental purposes, but it's all about coming together, remembering the past, celebrating the present, and the prosperity of the future. What could be a better thing to celebrate, you know, than that? So I just want to say thank you for having us. Thank you for the platform that the wānanga has created around this space, because it's been central in its normalisation and its Aotearoaisation.
Kanaka is Kanaka Whai?
Kanaka-ismalisation.
Kanaka-ismalisation malala.
Yeah, so kia ora, by the book.
Yes, and nei te whakapuka e o mā, kei roto i te reo Pākehā me te reo Māori. I should say, kei roto i te reo Māori me te reo Pākehā. Matariki te whetū tapu o te tau, koe nei te mea Pākehā, kei roto i te reo Pākehā. Anei te tangata, here we see. Yes, that's all there. Kare aku kupu i te mea kua kapika toia koutou oku nei whakaaro, me te rangatira o tā tātou noho i tēnei rā, e whakanui nei, e whakamānawa nei i a Matariki. Nā runga i tērā, kua eke a Taringa ki te kotahi Matariki. And in celebration, this is part of the celebration of Taringa getting to one Matariki, we're going to have a birthday cake, but we thought we'd change it up, you know. And I hoa Pākehā tērā whakaaro, engari, I whakamaori te e mātou, and this is a kumara pie. Kumara pai hei whakanui i te ekenga o Taringa ki te kotahi Matariki. And you have...
Waiata? Do you sing Happy Birthday?
Hare Matariki kia koe, Hare Matariki kia koe, Hare Matariki kia Taringa. Hare Matariki kia koe. Ana!
Mahalo.
Hei. Ana! Tūtaro whati whakamaua kia tīna.
Tīna.
Ai me hui e.
Taiki e. Lono i ka makahiki.
Lono i ka makahiki. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh.
You have to honour.
Te kakara.
O mai e rongo te o te kei hei o mō mātou hei o mō ta māroto hou.
Oh.
Alright, I'm going to be nice. So you know, you're the manihiri, so you go first.
I have to take my... So if
Yeah.
I wait, then you have to wait.
Yeah.
Oh.
So don't. Hurry up. I'm going to be rude.
They'll just edit out the wait anyway,
I'll get
right?
mine
Okay.
ready.
Oh, yeah.
Tēnā koe.
Reka.
Oh, pai.
That's a pie.
Lono i ka
Pie.
makahiki.
Pie te pie?
And here's one I
That is really, really good. That is great.
Yeah, that's like a pumpkin pie. That's quite
It's a
good.
similar pie.
Yeah.
Kumara.
Nō rere e te iwi. O kia ora tātai kua rahi a tātai kōrero and, you know, closing thoughts. Kei a koe, Kaliko.
Yeah, so closing thoughts. I think the most significant point that if we had to make one throughout this whole podcast that we've been sitting through about Matariki today, I think it's for me, it's the normalization of everything. And we've been throwing around the word normalization back home for years, and I'm sure you've been throwing it around here as a way to ensure that, you know, Maori people speak Maori, Hawaiians speak Hawaiian, but the normalization of ceremony and practice and acknowledging of our moli, that our moli within us is I think a way for us to further our consciousness of being Kanaka. And for me, yeah, so when I think about all these practices that we have, and like for us back home, the hula and whatnot. We just had a conference where we were seeing posts on Facebook with hundreds of people dancing the same song. That's cultural practice. That's ceremonial practice. That's awakening laka for the hula people. I say maika iloa. And carry on, because that's what we need. That's what we need as a people, and we need more people just stepping out of their colonial box, their colonized box, and being more Kanaka, finding the Kanaka that they feel safe with, and be it.
Tēnā koe. E mihi ana kia koe hoa, lono I ka makahiki.
Lono I ka makahiki.
Lono I ka makahiki me ngā whakaaro whakamānawa ki a Matariki, ana ki tā tātou noho I a tātai whakanui nei, whakamānawa nei a Matariki. And with that, we have our waiata, te waiata, mo tēnei wiki, te paki o Matariki. E hei whakanui I tēnei te ringa o Taringa, kua tau mai a Joe Mack, Rāoko, tētahi wahine, tino a tāhu ara wātu ki te waiata i te waiata o te wiki.
Pānapa, pirata-rata, te pāki o Matariki, ora hia maira, te marino ki ngā iwi, o te ao katoa. Waiti, waita, tupu anuku, tupu arangi, ururangi, waipunarangi. Kohutu ka wahi wai te rangi, te paki o Matariki. Kanapa-napa, pirata-rata, te paki o Matariki.
Rono i ka makahiki.
Makahiki.
Piratarata, kanapanapa, te paki o Matariki. Nei mātou e mihi atu nei i raro i ngā manaakitanga a te wānanga o te roa. Hei ko nā mai rā, tātou katoa.
Taringa, taringa, gather up close everybody.
Taringa, he mea tuku nā te wānanga o Aotearoa. To listen to more episodes, search for us on your podcast app and subscribe. Taringa, whakarongo mai.